Welcome to Comics Bazaar, the channel of comics commentary and arcana. This video features X-Force number 24, cover dated July 1993. The cover caption is Prisoners of Fate. There is a wild melee going on that cover by Greg Capullo and inked by Richard Bennett. So Richard Bennett arriving at Marvel around this time and coming on board as an inker for issues of X-Force before he pencils some issues of Uncanny X-Men and Adjectiveless X-Men himself. And his style over Greg Capullo's pencils is more busy, more detailed. There's more hatching and cross-hatching than there was from Harry Candelario. Let's take a look at the corner box there. For the second month in a row, Cable features on the corner box, but he hasn't featured in the previous issue. Will he feature in this one is a question that readers might have. So let's open this one up to the first page. The story begins on Route 206 north near Sparta, New Jersey. And I always find it interesting, slightly comical, the way that Fabian Nicieza includes the exact time that events take place, 11:23 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So I was thinking about this, like, why does he have it like 11:23 p.m.? I guess it gives a sense of immediacy to the action in the issue that and across the series, that every minute counts. Like, everything is amplified in terms of its dramatic potential. So we got to have that this is taking place at 11:23 p.m. exactly. So this is an armored vehicle, and we have two drivers who are also wearing armor, and into the middle of the road there steps a woman in a torn dress begging for help. So is this genuine? Is this sincere? Or is it a setup? Title of the story, Prisoners of Fate, echoes the caption on the cover. An X-Force face jam and brain scrub by Fabian Nicieza and Greg Capullo declares bombastically the credits, introducing the inking of Richard Bennett from Uruguay, with lettering by Chris Eliopoulos, color art by Marie Javins. So the armored vehicle screeches to a halt. You can see here already Richard Bennett's contribution to the pencils. He has a really great way of rendering metallic surfaces here. You can see that wavy pen line that he uses, and also he puts great detail into vehicles. So we have all of this detail on the tire of the armored vehicle as well. So let's get into the story. The woman is standing there in the headlights of the armored vehicle. The two drivers, two of them get out. Like, only one should get out when you really think about it. And of course, it is indeed a trap. She says it's not about, she's not looking for mechanical assistance. No, it's more than that, really. And they ask, has someone been hurt? No, but someone will be. You. Okay, so great banter there in the dialogue from Fabian Nicieza. Again, you can see Richard Bennett's contribution here, the fine hatching, the rendering of the metallic surfaces across the shoulder pads of these armored figures. And then we have one of these classic devices that Greg Capullo is using, whereby we have a full horizontal panel with small figures in silhouette. Everything mostly in silhouette except for the light sirens on top of the armored vehicle. And then whoever these guys are, they start firing away at the back of the armored vehicle. Pour it on, says their team leader. Let's see what is happening here. So they blast their way in. We have stood by our claims and proven that our word is in fact our deed, says the team leader. We simply could not stand by and allow this travesty of justice to go unpunished by the law-abiding normal citizens of this land. So this is something to do with a staple theme of the X-books, the anti-mutant prejudice of some humans. Russell Collins and Sally Blevins. So here they are, Rusty and Skids. For criminal acts of mutant terrorism with the express purpose of placing human beings in jeopardy, and in the name of the Friends of Humanity, an anti-mutant hate group just recently introduced into X-book mythos, you will pay for your crimes against mankind. So they're strung up, last associated with Strife and the MLF. Strife, of course, dead, presumed dead now after the events and the climax of Executioner's Song. So what about Rusty and Skids? Well, their former teammates are concerned about them, most especially Cannonball, as it turns out, and the scene switches to Camp Verde, Arizona, where the IPAC unit that X-Force stole from S.H.I.E.L.D. is touching down. No, this is a different unit. This is the interpersonal assault carrier that they got from Greymalkin. So this is Cable's legacy. So this is their new tech, new equipment. So it's touching down here. I think this scene is drawn very well. And again, we get to see Richard Bennett's contribution in terms of the way that he's rendering the texture of the rock in the background, the dust kicked up by the jets of the vertical landing of the carrier. And there emerges from it the rescued members of X-Force, Warpath, Siren, and Boomer there. And Sam concerned about them and that they're all right. And Siren confirms that they're tired but fit, Sam. So there's no time to rest. He says, that's good to hear. Suit up and get ready for a rollout. So this is what readers want from X-Force. Action all the time, not too much in the way of downtime. It's from one adventure to another that is distinctive of the X-Force title, different from the other X titles. But Feral here, a little bit miffed. Not another mission, she exclaims. More than that, Feral, says Sam. Friends need rescuing. So they've just rescued Warpath, Siren, and Boomer. So what other friends do they have? Feral asks, friends of mine? And she says, rather quietly there, I kind of doubt that, because of course Feral is a bit of a misanthrope and doesn't really have any friends on the team. And I love the way, I've said it before in previous videos leading up to this issue, the way that Greg Capullo is designing her, different from Rob Liefeld's design, where she's got this wild, unkempt, almost punk looking type hair. She truly does look feral now. Nice top-down shot here of Richter and Sunspot, who have now joined the team recently, and Sunspot asks, who is it, Sam? It's Rusty and Skids, Sunspot, our old teammates from the New Mutants. We don't have much time to waste talking, guys. Get Cruel out of the IPAC. Okay, so it is the IPAC. I'm getting a little confused here. Whether this is just a generic term for the craft that they stole from S.H.I.E.L.D. and or whether it's one of these crafts that they got from Greymalkin. And put him in a triage tent because, of course, Cruel was injured from being dropped from the IPAC into the mountains. We'll deal with him later. And it looks like he's been dropped out of the IPAC once again. So Richter rather sheepishly says, we can't do that. So the reason is that he wouldn't shut up, says Richter. And Shatterstar says, what if that killer had recuperated and struck out at us? And Sunspot, it's like they're talking all over each other. It seemed like the most logical thing to do at the time, Sam. What did you do with him, guys? Sam yells in frustration. Well, the fiberglass cast he was wearing floats, so we kind of dumped him in the Pacific Ocean. And there he is floating there. So that's kind of hilarious conclusion to the whole business with Cruel. He really hasn't had a lucky time going after X-Force and Cable. So another great top-down angle here of Warpath, Boomer, and Siren arriving out in their team costumes, ready for this new mission. And Sam says, let's just pack it in and move it out, he says to Boomer. Sam, what's really going on here? Richter asks him. What happened to Rusty and Skids? So we get a little explanation in terms of what's gone on with them. About the immediate situation where they've been captured by the Friends of Humanity. And also Sunspot makes the point, but Rusty and Skids had been brainwashed into working for Strife. They weren't responsible for their actions with the MLF. I thought the government psych team had confirmed that. Cannonball says they did, Bobby. Now, how does Cannonball know about what's happened with Rusty and Skids? Here we're going to get an explanation of that. It's a really desperate situation, buddy. If it weren't, Charles Xavier would never have called us for help. So since X-Force number 19, there's a line open between Sam as leader of X-Force and Professor X. And so there's communication now between the Professor and the X-Force team that wasn't there when Cable was leader of X-Force. So that's an interesting development. I'm back at Xavier's mansion in upstate Westchester, New York, at again, precisely 12:32 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, somebody is yelling at the professor, and it's Dr. Val Cooper. And it turns out that Val gave the professor the information about Rusty and Skids, and actually was sending Rusty and Skids to the professor. And I guess it would be for him to use his telepathic powers to de-brainwash them, so to speak. But she's angry with him for sending X-Force to free Rusty and Skids from the Friends of Humanity. And the professor retorts regarding the fact that there's no one else to do it. Should they add terrorist activities to their growing inflammatory rhetoric, would have to be dealt with, remember, and you can't use X Factor to investigate. After all, how would that look on the evening news? Government muties hunt down helpless humans, film at 11. And my X-Men are engaged all over the globe right now. In issue 300, they're going to go to France. Besides which, we did not want anyone to know Rusty and Skids were headed here to the mansion to begin with. Thanks to your kind assistance, Val. I had little choice but to call Sam and ask for his help. And help as he will, assuming, of course, your information is accurate. So Val says, I'm positive, Charles. You know, we have a mole inside the Friends organization, so it's interesting who is that. But if your X-Force brat pack are going to strike, they have to do it quickly and efficiently. The professor there thoughtfully says, I know, Val, unfortunately, it is what they do best, isn't it? So X-Force, the young mutants, they are the strike team. And the professor, you know, becoming as ethically, what would we say, flexible as Sam himself now at this point in terms of using a team like X-Force for the greater good, let's put it that way. Then the scene switches to Massachusetts, and we pick up from a scene in the previous issue where Vanessa has been found by Domino, the real Domino, Grizzly and Hammer, and they have taken down Deadpool and Sluggo, who are about to execute her. And Domino is raging here, and she's looking to get loose from Grizzly's grip in order to kill Vanessa for having stolen her life for a year and having been the prisoner of Mr. Tolliver for a year. And there's a funny little bit here where Grizzly is remonstrating with Domino, saying, stop, you're embarrassing us. Meanwhile, Vanessa has got her cool back, and she asks them, how did you find me? And Hammer explains, well, shapeshifters aren't used to being found, are they? Your escapade with Deadpool went out on a Boston Police APB, which I picked up. Then I locked onto your mutagenic signature and traced you here. So Domino angry here, and let's turn the page, see what happens. We get a shot here of Deadpool and Sluggo being shot in the back by Domino, and Vanessa says to Hammer, these two aren't dead, Hammer, give me this. So she takes a handgun strapped to Domino's thigh. Domino's not at all pleased. That's my gun. You insert slur there. We need to buy some time, right, she says. And she shoots Sluggo and Deadpool in the backs again, point blank. And Grizzly here is aghast. Domino too, her eyes wide there. You lays them in cold blood, he asks. I really like the way that one of his eyes is kind of closed there and the other one is popped open. Kind of indicates his bafflement. That's nicely done. Good expression, command of expression by Capullo there. And she explains here, right, and 10 minutes ago, your little Petey the dog shot them from behind to save my butt. Besides, it takes a lot more than a couple of laser blast head and chest shots to kill these two, because they have healing factors and can regenerate. I'm just buying us enough time to get far away from them, she says as she tosses the gun to Domino. You three idiots coming? She asks as she walks nonchalantly out of her apartment door. That really is a turnaround from the situation that it seemed she was in at the end of the previous issue. And now Domino is quietened and says, fine, we'll follow you, but I'll be watching your every step. And if you're lying because Vanessa said she knows where X-Force are, I swear it's the last thing you'll ever do. And I really like this last panel here. I love the atmospheric lighting of the rooftop scene here as we're watching their craft take off. This is Hammer's kind of flying van, techno van, flying off there. I just like the choice. I like Capullo's, the way he's thinking here. We're on the rooftop, we're looking at the van taking off, and the spotting of blacks here, Richard Bennett's rendering of the texture of the brickwork here on the roof. Really, really nice work, really nicely done. So let's continue. And here's an easy page for anyone to draw. So Capullo's saving some time with this particular layout and seeing space just beyond the clutching grip of Earth's atmosphere, says Fabian Nicieza's third person narration. We just see this hand gesturing and some kind of power signature emerges from it. But what is it? What is going on? It's an intriguing power signature, reminiscent, one might say, of Magneto perhaps. And here we've got advertisements for what's coming up in respect of the 30th anniversary of the X-Men and Avengers titles. So lots of cool artwork here, sketches, design work for various things that are coming up, the impending crossover between the X titles and X-Men, some stuff here as well with Gambit, and Generation X as well advertised too. And this is an interesting page here where what has this mysterious figure done but has, with a flick of a finger, a pulse wave rides along the electromagnetic field. Now, who is it has power over the electromagnetic field? Who is it? Who could it be? Magneto, of course. Seeking and then finding its elusive quarry. Slowly, majestically, the shattered remnants of that orbital station once called Greymalkin are pulled out of the inky blackness of space. Then and only then does this lonely wanderer smile, for he is back and he has found a place to call home. Now, there's kind of a guessing game to go here where a reader might be wondering, is it Cable? Is Cable back? But the whole business with the electromagnetic field is a clue that it could be Magneto, yes? So let's get back to X-Force and their new mission. They are flying across, screaming across the American Midwest at precisely 11:54 Central Standard Time. And there's a bit of banter aboard the IPAC here, but basically it resolves on Warpath asking the operative question to Cannonball, team leader. Have you scoped out the kill zone, Guthrie? He asks. Cannonball says, this is all we have to go on so far, Shatterstar. So he flicks on the screen there, a broadcast news report on WARC a couple of hours ago. And of course, who's the news reporter on WARC? It is the Beast's on and off again girlfriend Trish Tilby. So here she is giving a report on the heist and the abduction of Russell Collins and Sally Blevins, Rusty and Skids, both admitted mutants who have been on the fringes of the law for the last several months, she says. And we get a little kind of like pressy or summary of their involvement with, or their contention with Freedom Force and their involvement with the Mutant Liberation Front. But Tilby makes the point, sources in the government have confirmed that Collins and Blevins had indeed been forced to act against their will in conjunction with the MLF activities. At that point, Sam turns off the broadcast, the recording, and makes the point, it almost looks like Trish Tilby gave mutants a break with the way she covered the story. The real blame is slanted towards this Friends group. If people knew the truth, that Rusty and Skids weren't being charged with anything, were actually being delivered to the professors for care, they might not be as forgiving. And I like this little bit here at the end of the page between Ferrell and Boomer. These two rivals, they've had a rivalry going from the very beginning of X-Force number 1. And Ferrell here, like, really kind of miffed, saying, because people want to see all mutants dead or in jail, right? Meanwhile, that witch, Val Cooper, still thinks of us as outlaws. Maybe we should all blow up a few buildings, act like we're crazy. And Boomer here saying, what do you mean act, kitty cat? So getting a jibe in there about how crazy Farrell is. And just again, look at how wild her hair is. That's a really cool choice on Capullo's part. I really like that. And then we have an outside shot of the iPack. Some more banter going on. And finally, oh yeah, there's an interesting little bit here where Shatterstar is saying about media bias. On my home world, such a manipulation of the media is to be commended, he says. And then Warpath makes an interesting point about media bias and slanting. Unless you're on the side getting slammed, he says, remind me to tell you sometime how much fun it was growing up watching John Wayne Westerns. So that's an interesting little point that Nicieza has worked in there, a kind of a character bit concerning Warpath and his grievance about how his tribe of the Apaches were represented in those John Wayne movies. Cannonball, though, says, maybe later, Jimmy, over some s'mores, and I'll tell you how much I loved Hee Haw. For now, let's roll it out, people. Great anchor image of X-Force leaping into action, but we get some strategy from team leader Cannonball, where he splits them into two groups. So he wants 2 units. Perimeter, pinch. Rick takes Star, Farrell, and Warpath with you. Boomer, Bobby, and Siren with me. I want it so quiet you can hear your hearts beat, people. Good luck, he says. But there's some back chat from certain members of the team. So Richter here, not impressed. Achtung, my Capitan, he says. Sheesh. Now ain't Sammy just becoming the regular Generalissimo? And Farrell accords. She says, yeah, we got rid of one cable and another gets installed. And Siren isn't happy either. I said it was fine, didn't I, Sam? She says, referring back to what she said earlier. And he's confused, legitimately so. If I'm in good enough condition, she develops, to be on the mission, then I'm certainly in good enough condition to lead the second unit. So Sam is taken completely aback by that. So it's good characterization on Fabian Nicieza's part. There's jostling for position here within this team of young mutants. So he apologizes. He says, you're right, old habits, it's easier for me to turn to Rick and Bobby because of their shared history. And Siren continues. He says, well, Cable had no problem turning to me. Why, pray tell, should you? So he says, okay, Terry, I hear you, but we got things to do now. Unit 2, we're closing in, he says. Lights on, we got activity inside. So that note didn't go to the colorist. Marie Javins didn't understand that the lights are supposed to be on in the structure because, of course, the coloring is the last job done. So she missed out on that. They're outside wondering about what is going on in the house. So Sunspot says, confirms our suspicions, though. They must have guards on shifts watching Rusty and Skids 24 hours a day. So Sam about to give the word to go. On my mark, he says. Let's see how this works out. This is what the team is being trained to do by Cable. Let's see how well they do. So Cannonball gives the word and move in. And so we get great action shots here. Cool anchor image there. This is pretty cool as well as they're bursting in from 2 different sides into the house. And we've got Rusty and Skids there strung up. They've got guards around them. And they say, mutie attack. Siren isn't impressed by the slur, such harsh words to be slandering and tossing about, she says. Well, we hear you loud and clear. Now listen to this, a sonic scream straight from the heart. So the Friends of Humanity easily dispatched by X-Force. Great top-down shot here, looking down from above. Rusty and Skids there and down on top of the team. Really, really great command of perspective and anatomy in perspective by Capullo. So it turns out Rusty and Skids are still brainwashed. So Sunspot says, Russ, Skids, it has been a long time. How are things hanging? And Skids responds, was that a joke, DaCosta? Pathetic puppet of the sycophant Harmony dream, Professor X's dream. So Farrell simply says, cool, we got to check the kitchen out. So off they go on Cannonball's orders. Let's see how that turns out. Shatterstar and Warpath acting together. They're going upstairs and they deal with upstairs in short order. No problem with the upstairs, says Warpath, as he's got a ton of these guys on his back. Hasn't Skids shut up yet, he asks. And Shatterstar says, between the ease of this operation and the disdain of those we've come to rescue, it's almost enough to regret having participated in this at all, as he cleans his double-bladed sword there. And then Boomer and Feral, working together, have cleared the kitchen, and they got funny bones in the fridge, says Feral with a big smile on her face. So this is it, like what's going on here. Skids and Rusty, brainwashed as I said. Strife will return to show you the way it must be. By fire will this world be cleansed, says Rusty. You will see, all of you will see. And so Cannonball is left to, and as he walks off, he continues saying, mutants must rule. Cannonball thinks, well, we got what we came for. And he picks up this leaflet, this pamphlet on the ground, reads it. If you two are human, then you are one of us, the friends of humanity. So it's about fighting back against the increasing threats of mutants. So Sam narrows his eyes in thought and says to Boomer, they hate us. So that makes it much easier for us to hate them, doesn't it? Like, that's the way it could go. And us, we knock down buildings, burn the skies red, spit plasma, and scream like thunder. And all that makes it so easy for them to fear us. And no one's really gotten it yet, have they? He asks the question. Let's turn the page. We're on the last page of this story. That we're all just people, really. We're all just trying to live it all out day by day. So Sam, really a true believer of the professor's perspective on human-mutant relations, despite all of Cable's training and despite his, his acceptance that there needs to be an ex-strike team. He still is convinced of the professor's pacific and humanist view on human-mutant relations. And Boomer asks him, but we do try, don't we, Sam? We try to make both sides of the coin see that. I guess this is worth it then, if we can make any kind of difference. And Sam says, but are we making it any better? Or do we just add to what makes it worse? Is there any way for all of us to live with each other on this planet? And Boomer says something interesting in response. I don't know, but I mean, we better, because it's not like there's anywhere else to go, is there? She asked the question rhetorically, but the coming return of Magneto is going to provide an alternative location for mutants to live, and that is Avalon, and that is where Rusty and Skids will go ultimately. Sam concludes, no, there's not, but if we all can't make it work out, if this town ain't big enough for the two of us, where do we go from here? And a great final image in terms of promoting the upcoming giant-sized 25th issue spectacular created by Nicieza, Capullo, and Richard Bennett returning as inker. So we've got Magneto's helmet there, blown open at the top, and Cable. So Cable's back, and guess who's back? Next issue, the Battle Royale begins. Be sure to read X Factor number 92 before joining us next month for Fatal Attractions, the return of Magneto. Some letters here about various issues 19, 20, and 21 there. And there you go. I do hope that you enjoyed this review and commentary on X-Force number 24. I think that this is a pretty entertaining issue. Nice to see Richard Bennett's inks over Greg Capullo's pencils. I do like Harry Candelario's inks over Capullo's pencils. There are two different looks and they bring out different aspects of Capullo's art. Let me know your thoughts on this issue in the comments section beneath the video. If you enjoyed my review and commentary, please like the video on YouTube and share it. Also, really helps the channel. And if you haven't done so already, subscribe to the channel and stay tuned for more content like this.